Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. I'm your host, Benjamin Kamperman, and today we have, I think it's been a few weeks since we've last talked on
Yep.
air, Joseph Kamperman, my brother. How are you doing today? And we have a lot of stuff planned out. We free agency talk, a little bit of draft talk. So how are you doing? And then we'll get going. This should be fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm doing great. It's been a couple weeks since we last talked. I can confidently say that while the playoffs were the most interesting in my time of being alive watching, I absolutely got every single prediction wrong, and I will be the first to admit it
Hey, I said the
as
Bengals were
well.
going to the Super Bowl, and I was right. So.
You were, and I definitely did not say the Bengals were gonna go to the Super Bowl, and I definitely was totally all in on the Bengals over the Rams. Matthew
Yeah,
Stafford proved me wrong. I don't know if you remember the last video we said,
right.
but I said he was going to have an opportunity to score a last second touchdown and wasn't going to do it. Well, he had an opportunity to score a touchdown with a couple minutes left, and lo and behold, he did it. In typical Matthew Stafford
Yeah.
fashion, I was wrong to bet against him. But I'm doing great, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, so free agency coming up in a few weeks. Rumors have started to heat up like they do every week. Every year.
Sure.
They start to heat up, and it's gonna get really interesting. But let's put a twist to it a little bit. Let's not talk about free agency for our teams. Let's talk about free agency for these guys. Like, where will they go? Where will the top free agents go next? I thought this would be a good idea. Let's start with the top 5 free agents. Let's start with the number 1 free agent, the big fish, as they call him, Devante Adams. This man is gonna get paid a ton. And you know, yeah, he's a lot of teams are gonna be vying for him. So, what do you think about this guy?
This was a tough one. I've really pondered it actually over the first couple of days before, last couple of days before you said this,
Yeah,
because it's this looming large thing that really hasn't been addressed. And normally we find out something more before,
yeah,
normally going into free agency, we're now only a couple of weeks out. I think we're 2 weeks out free agency. Absolutely insane. Or is it the 25th or is it the 14th of March?
it's 16th.
16th. Okay, got it. So we are a little over. We're almost 3 weeks, but a little under 3 weeks away from the start, and we've really not heard a lot about it. And I won't be lengthy on it, but I'll say one thing. I think a lot of it is tied to the fact that if Aaron Rodgers comes back and stays with the Packers, they are going to do whatever it takes to bring him back. And right now, if you slap him with a franchise tag, he gets an average of the top 5 receiver money. So you're paying him a bunch of money either way. See,
Right.
the franchise tag used to be a beautiful tool for teams to say, I'm gonna delay this contract. But now, as more teams have signed their players before free agency to big
Yeah.
contracts, the franchise tag is no longer a scapegoat for paying your receiver
Right.
essentially a 1 year deal under a low. It's now you're paying him top receiver money as
Right.
really how it should be designed. But really, the reason why is because people are locking up players. Teams are locking up players before they hit free agency to avoid getting that average. But because of that, it's bringing that average up. So I think right now, if he were to slap him with a franchise tag, I
Right.
think he makes like 22 a year or something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not under 20. I didn't look at the final count, but I'm gonna say he stays with the Packers. And this
Yeah.
is a bold take, but the Packers I saw today, Ladarius Smith, is that his name? Yeah, the outside linebacker.
Zadar- Z- Zadarius
Zadarius
Smith.
Smith. Sorry, there's I think there's Ladarius and Zadarius, but Zadarius Smith plays for the
Yeah.
Packers. He's an outside linebacker, and I think they cut him. He's a release candidate. They would save 15 million alone by cutting him. So I think they're gonna work the cap, and the reason why is they're trying to bring Rodgers back. They don't like Love.
Yeah.
They've got about a 1 year window. I thought this was their year. I really did, and honestly, I will get to this with a couple questions later. But really, to me, this is a golden opportunity for you to try to run it back, whatever that's going to be. Draft well this year because it's not like they're out on draft picks.
Right.
Draft well, try to run it back. I think he stays with the Packers. If he doesn't, I think the Broncos could make a swing. It's just I don't see him going anywhere else. But the NFL is weird and things could change. I mean, look, the Eagles have a lot of cap. They could approach him and they could say, "Let's get this deal done."
Yeah, I'd assume the Eagles make a run at all of the
They'll
big
sniff
receivers.
around.
Chris
They'll sniff.
Godwin.
Sure,
Yeah,
they'll sniff around.
that's a big one. Chris Godwin.
Devante
Yeah.
Adams is going to price his way out of I think, a lot of teams' budgets because he could easily demand $30 million. And I think what's going to happen is the Packers are going to get him at a discounted rate, even though or I think it was Rodgers saying I don't think he deserves a discounted rate.
Yeah.
Someone said that. I can't think of who, but I think he's going to give the Packers what they want, unless within reason, unless they offer him like $18 million a year or something, which is crazy amount of money. But in this day and age, it's nothing for a receiver. So,
Well, the Packers might not even be able to offer him that. They
so
might
well, but
only be able to offer him a franchise tag because remember, they're 31st in
so,
cap space with
and
only like
I
they're
agree with you.
231 million under the cap.
So another way that they could do this, and it's not good, it's not responsible. The Eagles did it similarly with Carson Wentz, but Howie Roseman is a general manager's daydream when it comes to signing players to cap stuff. He's a brilliant at it. Other people make nightmares. He makes the best case scenario out of the worst. With that being said, they could give him a backloaded contract, and what that does is you give him upfront guaranteed money, but you also give him a backloaded contract, which means they could cut him next year, be in cap hell for the next 3 years following, but avoid having to pay him a lot this year if they think this could be Aaron's last team. That's
franchising him would cost more for them this year.
It is true.
Okay.
That they could probably get him under a better, like I was saying, a backloaded contract. But either way, it's not a good situation. Really, if you sign him, it's a 3-year deal, even if they may sign it to a 5 or 4-year deal. To me, he's not going to void his contract. He's not going to do a voidable contract. That'd be foolish as all get out for him. What he's going to do is, if anything, if he re-signs with the Packers, I believe it'll be a backloaded contract where the first year it doesn't hurt them, but then years 2 through 3 or 2 through 4 is going to be a nightmare. What's that's going to do is it's going to force them to either trade him for a 3rd-round pick, which is going to be insane, or they're going to have to cut him and they're going to have to absorb dead money. And that's if he comes back. And I think he can come back, but it's going to be under some certain stipulations. And it's crazy. I mean, really the reason I believe he only comes back if Rodgers comes back. And my coworker, who's a huge Packers fan, I've talked about him multiple times on the show, he says Rodgers and Adams are a package deal. I'd love to think that would be true. I don't know any team that could afford both of them. But if they made it work, they are a package deal. I think they both return. And
I think a sleeper, a team that has cap space, quite a bit of it, a sleeper that the rumors are picking up with Russell Wilson. You pair Russell Wilson and Devante Adams, it's the Colts. That's a big team. I mean, they're 7th most in cap space. You get a receiver like that, oh my gosh! Like you have some cap space and I mean, I saw today
receiver Devante Adams and
Russell Wilson, which the
Michael
rumors,
Pittman, holy crap,
right?
What a duo.
And the rumors are picking up for Russell Wilson. So what's a better attract Russell Wilson by getting Devante Adams?
What if the Packers swoop in and they get Russell Wilson? I've said this before. It would have to be like basically. It would have to be a very. Look, it has to be a Matthew Stafford.
How would that work in the cap space?
They'd have to trade players with high cap. So it'd have to be multiple first-round picks plus players with high caps. They don't have the draft cap.
Yeah, that's the thing.
What, the Packers don't?
I think
they have first-round picks. Oh, the Colts don't have the draft capital.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't. They don't have a first-round pick this year, but they have a first-round pick next year. And look, if anybody's seen anything, I'm not saying the Rams is the new template. It's not. In fact, it's not the new template. Anyone thinks it is, it's foolish. But the Rams made it work. And I got to say this, they don't have a first-round pick till I think 2026, but they're still going to be favorites for winning the Super Bowl next year. Right. So, yeah. It's a long answer, but yeah.
Yeah, and real quick before we move on to the next one, I think Aaron Rodgers, we'll get to Aaron Rodgers later on in the show, but Devante Adams, I think is going to go wherever Aaron Rodgers goes. Now, do you want, if Aaron Rodgers does end up retiring, which we'll talk about later, do you want to stay in Green Bay with potentially a crap hole coming in and a rebuild?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And that's the thing. That's where.
So those are questions he's going to have to ask himself, because Rodgers is not just going to come back and be like, yep, I'm returning to the Packers and I'm going to get sacked 60 times in the last year. I'm a quarterback. So I don't know. It's really not a good situation for the Packers, but it's weird to imagine a world where Devante Adams and Aaron Rodgers aren't on the Packers, but it very well could be. And I'm going to say he stays with the Packers, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's move to the next one we've got here. Let me see. I got a list. Oh, Chris Godwin.
Yep.
Where do you think he will go? I find it very unlikely that he stays with the Buccaneers. They don't have the cap to bring him back. They don't have the quarterback right now. Their quarterback's he's not coming back. So, anyways,
Yep.
where
Well,
does
that's the
Chris
highlight.
Godwin go?
So, I mean, I would have thought if you would have told me 2 months ago, I said he's re-signing with the Bucks. He's torn an
Yeah.
ACL. It's a best case scenario. He'll re-sign with the Bucks for a 1-year deal. Now Tom Brady retires. He loses the guy who he's built rapport with over the last 2 years. He's not returning. I think the Eagles are going to make a serious run at the wide receiver market this year. They're going to try to pair someone. And I saw someone make a mock trade where they're like, what's his name? The receiver for the Falcons. I can't even.
Yeah.
The name's slipping me.
Oh, Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley going for a first
Yeah.
round pick after missing 12 games or something like that. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. I would personally. I think what he's going to do is he's going to take a 1-year deal with a team, which is perfect for the Eagles.
Right.
It is that the comment is very true. An ACL tear is going to make it's not going to make him like dirt cheap, but instead of making like 18, 19 million a year, you probably could get him for a 1-year, $14 million deal with a couple of incentives, whether he plays.
Right.
There's still a risk he doesn't play week 1. And that's a big thing if you're an Eagles fan. You know, if you're trying to make a run, you can't lose a player, sign him in free agency, and then him not play till, mid-October, early November. There's a chance if his rehab doesn't go as planned, and it's happened before. I think it will, and I think he'll be ready by week 1, but he injured it pretty late in the season.
Well, and the thing with Calvin Ridley is his thing, Calvin Ridley missed 12 games because he temporarily retired.
So he had, no, not temporarily retired. He was having some mental health issues.
Yeah. Oh.
The question is,
he retired because of that. Yeah.
Did he? I don't know. I didn't know that.
No, he didn't retire, but like he.
Yeah. No, and he obviously has
stepped
mental
away.
stuff, and my heart goes out to him. I hope he gets the help he needs. But if you are trading a first-round pick, I hate to say this, the humanity of it says, I hope he gets the help he needs. But as a team in a business, you can't trade a first-round pick for a player who could do that to you again. So, and that's fine if he does that, but his value is low because of that. Because he'd have to really convince the team that trades for him that, hey, I'm in a right state of mind. Because a team, as hard as it is for me to say him, he's a human being. They're not going to trade a first-round pick for a player who may miss games. So, yeah.
Well, and Chris Godwin, Miami could make a big run at him now.
Yep.
They've never been a team, if you're looking back at Mike McDaniels and the 49ers, now this was more Kyle Shanahan, but they've never been a team to really go after those big name receivers. Yeah.
But he's a wide receivers coach turned offensive coordinator. So he has a fondness for a receiver. Another place he could go, depending on where Keenan Allen goes. I mean, depending on where Mike Williams goes, could he go to the Chargers? I mean, I think there's going to be some shuffling. We just don't know. So
and I mean, Miami's one. Denver's always one. Cleveland's an interesting one, maybe. Yeah. But so I mean, I think Chris Godwin. I'd
be shocked if it's more than a 1-year deal. Yeah, but I'd be shocked if it's more than a 1-year deal. If it's a 3-year deal, it's going to be voidable contracts or it's going to be major stipulations. Because what if he's not the same? And also, how much of this was Tom Brady is why he was such a good receiver. Now, he was a good receiver before Tom Brady got there, but he definitely had his best seasons under Tom. And of course, that's going to be definitely a skeptical. I don't want to see the Eagles invest more than $14 million in him, even though he's a great receiver. You got to temper your expectations with a guy who's coming off an ACL. It's just
the thing with Denver, like people are like, this is a attractive destination. But the thing is, well, exactly that. And that's why I'm like, Devante Adams, Chris Godwin, and also they do not get Aaron Rodgers. What do they have at quarterback? What do they have at quarterback? That's not right now at least
and they don't just
attractive
have
destination.
They need to fix their O-line too. They got at least a piece or two on the O-line that they got to address. So
I'm going to do a mock draft in a few months. They need an offense. They'll probably draft that one with the 9th pick. Like their best bet right now is trying to get one and trade or in trading for one. And I don't even know. So right now they're not an attractive destination. And unless they can trade for a quarterback, unless they can, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So unless they can trade for a quarterback before March 16th, then a lot of guys will not sign with them. So
I agree. I think the one thing they have going for them is they have a bunch of physical capital where they could ship a guy. I mean, no one would dream for this to happen, but they could ship a guy like anybody on their roster. Chubb. I doubt it, but Bradley Chubb, I doubt it because he's such a good defensive end. But I think anyone is fair game. So if a team came to them and said, hey, we want to trade you Rodgers, or we want to trade you Wilson, they'd say, here's 2 first-round picks and pick a player on our team. And I think they could do that. So I think that's why they're a destination, is because not only do they have the ability in the cap,
Yeah.
they also But
Yeah.
I agree with you. If they get receivers without a quarterback, it's the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are amazing receivers. Then you throw Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler in there. I mean, that's a great receiving group. And then they've got a great tight end, Noah Fant. And then they got the Albert his nickname. I mean, that's an amazing. And then you throw on top of that Javonte Williams and Melvin Ingram. They are literally a good quarterback away from potentially being the Rams. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They're a very good team. And they're in a division which is very winnable. Even though you've got the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Chargers, I don't think they're that far behind any of those 3 teams. So,
Interesting.
anyways,
Yeah, I think
that's a big.
No, yeah, no, you're good. You're good. So next one, Tehran Armstead. You have some thoughts on him. Where will he go? He's a top 5 free agent, one of the best tackles in the league. I would want the 49ers to get Tehran Armstead, but we do not have the cap space. We could put him at right tackle. Say
he plays best as left,
get
right?
out of here. What?
Does he play best at left? I think that's where he's usually played, right?
Yeah.
So I was like scratching my head. I'm like, where is an offensive line going to go? It very rarely works out well. It's funny because, and then I'm like, dude, the Bengals as this comment. I'm like, the Bengals have the 4th most cap space. The Bengals, dude, Burrow, they lost the Super Bowl because of their lack of O-line. I said it before. You heard me say it in previous videos. I think I said it twice at 2 different shows. I thought the Bengals are serious contenders, but my constant mainstay was their lack of O-line is why they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. And that's why I bet against them, because I wasn't convinced. He got sacked 8 times against them, and they kept making it work. 8 times against the Titans, but they kept making it work. I think they're going to go and they're going to bolster that O-line. Here's the deal. O-line in free agency always get overpaid. And he's going to get overpaid. He's going to get overpaid by someone. It was an absolute disaster when the Giants signed Nate Soldier from the Patriots a couple years back. I'm trying to think of another Patriots guard that ended up going to the Jaguars, and the name is slipping me. It doesn't normally work. Yeah, they do have a higher cap limit.
Go ahead. I'm just pulling that up.
But with that being said, the Bengals are a perfect destination. The Giants, I could see them trying to, but they're in cap hell right now. So, it's going to be difficult. Over the next 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see teams restructure contracts. You're going to see teams cut players and that's when it's going to start shaping up. Okay, who can these teams actually get?
Right.
Because right now, the only team on paper that I see is the Bengals. But if the Giants
Miami could make a run at him.
Sure.
And then Tennessee, but the thing is Tennessee doesn't have enough cap space, but they definitely need an O-line. Pittsburgh.
There's a lot of teams.
Pittsburgh's another team.
Pittsburgh's a big one. Yep.
Yeah.
And they love to run the ball, so Pittsburgh's a dark sleeper.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. Saints, I feel bad for that. Well, I don't feel bad for them, but they are going to be hot garbage next year.
I think they're gonna be hot garbage for the next 4 years. I do.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's
and
bad.
I mean, again, they're gonna have to literally
bad.
Yeah, they're gonna have to cut half of their roster to just make room for rookies. So
they paid a dual threat quarterback massive amounts of money only not to use him towards the end of the year. So I don't really have much to say about that. They overpaid Michael Thomas, and he's not played very well. It's so bad that the only person you could build around right now is Kamara, and it's really sad because he's such a good player, but he's on a team that's going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I think they tank next year for a good QB.
The Bengals are rolling over more than $5 million, but maybe I'm wrong. But even if they only roll over $5 million, that's still incredible. I think they have what is it, $50 million? I think it's $45 million available cap after contracts take place this year.
Yeah, and the thing is like the 49ers, again, going like real quick with the 49ers, they're not going to make a run at him, but just in general, if they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, instead of them being 21st on the cap thing, if they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, they'll be like almost a top 10 cap space team because of that. So that's key as well.
Now there's dead money. I don't know much about Garoppolo's contract.
$2 million.
Got it. That's not much.
So they get 25. Yeah, I know. It's incredible. So yeah.
Anyways,
so next one is Von Miller. Where will he go?
So he said he wants to stay with the Rams. I don't have the cap sheet in front of me. I don't know what their cap space looks like, but I do believe they do have the ability with restructuring to re-sign him.
They're 29th in cap space,
Yeah,
but
I think that they have the
news came
ability
out
to
today that
re-sign him.
who is it they restructured? I think they restructured somebody's deal today. Was
Yeah.
it? I can't remember who it was. I don't know. Whatever. Go ahead.
Oh, I meant to say this. No, I was going to say, Tehran Armstead could be a candidate for the Bucks, but they just don't have the cap space. And I think they have their left tackle and right tackle are both sort of
Yeah,
solidified. But did you see
worst.
Ali Marpet retired today? Top guard in the league. He's 7 years. One of my favorite
Oh,
linemen, Dutch
oh,
lineman,
that's what
retired
this guy
today.
was saying. Yeah,
Yep, he retired.
Swan Song
Huge,
was
huge
saying.
news. Yep.
Okay.
Anyways, okay, so going back to Von Miller. So he's got 2 rings now. Does he go for the highest bidder? And I think unless the Rams offer him a contract he can't refuse, like, hey, we can't pay you much, but here, come run it back with us, I think he's going to go to the team that's going to pay him the most. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, there's a lot of teams that choose pass rush was sort of not great. I could see him potentially going to the Chiefs. I
Yeah.
could see him potentially going to a team
Okay.
that
Yeah.
it's all tough because cap space. It's like if a team offers him 2 years of tons of money, he's going to take it because he's older and he may retire after 2 years. He's got the 2 rings. I think for many players, 2
Right.
rings is enough. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's see how much I can catch in because he had a great season, considering that he got traded halfway. Yep. Eagles are rolling over a lot because Harry Roseman is an absolute genius. I'm not a huge fan of him, and he makes me want to rip my hair out. But when it comes to cap space, Harry Roseman is literally a genius. He's the best general manager in the league when it comes to contracts. He just makes it work. People thought the Eagles were going to be in cap hell after getting rid of Carson Wentz. We're literally a year removed, and we're back on the stage with 3 first-round picks. So
Yeah. I
but
mean,
yeah,
I think.
where do you think
Okay.
Von Miller's going? I mean, I don't.
He went, I think, to the Rams to really bolster. Again, his career was on the downside. He went to
Sure,
Rams to show everyone, hey, I can still do stuff. I'm not
sure.
that injury prone. I can still do stuff. So I don't know if the Rams still keep him necessarily, but I mean, I'm trying to think of the teams that would want him. Dolphins are always going to be on there. Maybe the Broncos are like, hey, come back, because they need a defensive lineman as
Sure.
well. I'm not
I don't
really.
think so, but yeah, the Dolphins
Yeah.
could be an opportunity. You could go through the teams. There's like obviously the Saints need defensive ends, but they're not going to be able to afford a top quality guy. Do they try to pair him? Would he come to the Saints? I doubt it. It's sort of a dumpster fire. And he
Yeah.
has such a bad. But you never know. If he signs a cheap contract, tons of teams are going to be interested in him. He's still a good player. I mean, the Eagles
He's not going to sign
may
a
even
cheap
look at him,
one. I
but
mean,
he's not
after
going
this
to.
year, no.
Absolutely not. He
And so,
still says, "Hey, I could put up 8, 9 sacks for you a year," and that for a lot of teams, that's a starter worthy level player. So,
and again, the Rams are going to be another contender this year. So playing with a contender, I think that's where I think he stays with the Rams just
I do
because I
too.
think
I do too. I think
they.
they find a way to keep him.
Yeah. So, yeah, so let's move on to the next one. This is the last one. This is the big name. Hold on, guys. J.C. Jackson. This man, reports come out that he basically the Patriots don't want him. Obviously, the Patriots do this with every player that they try to sign. They try to hold out, get the best possible deal. But the free agency is only like a little more than 2-3 weeks away. So where does J.C. Jackson go? He's a cornerback. I mean, there's teams for a lot of 49ers teams want him, fans want him, but that's way too expensive. He's going to get the bag. I mean, he's going
He's
to
going to
get it
get a
all.
huge bag. He's going to get a massive bag.
I mean, his stats the last few years have been incredible. Like, I think he had 8 last year. Like, and he's
he's
young. He's 26. Like, his prime.
he's a good cornerback. I have my doubts on whether he's as good as his stats show.
Yeah.
However, I'm gonna say Eagles, and I don't want them to get him,
Okay.
but Darius Slay paid off so well. He's a free agent next year, so you have basically a 1-year window, and there's no one to take his place. Because Devontae Maddox plays best in the slot. And I know I said Chris Godwin as well, but I do think the Eagles are going to be big players in free agency. I think that they think they're a quarterback away from winning. I think there's a chance that they invest draft capital and they try to get a guy like Rodgers or Wilson. If they can't, they're going to roll with Hurts and they're going to surround him with as much talent as possible. And I think that's what I would prefer them to do. But I think they're going to overpay J.C. Jackson. I don't want them to get him. just because corners normally never pan out. Slay was a proven guy, and it was one of the best things we've ever done. Last year, he was the number one cornerback as far in a ton of stats. He had a great year. But J.C. Jackson paired with Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox all of a sudden makes us probably the best cornerback trio in the league. Because Avonte Maddox ranked in like the top 4, and Slay was like top 2, and I think J.C. Jackson was right behind him. So it would be amazing. Now, here's the deal. Without a good defensive lineman, JC doesn't look well. And Matt Judon was a beast for the Patriots this year, and teams were constantly under pressure. And so J.C. Jackson was a great recipient of this. And I've said this before. Ronald Darby and the Green Goblin, as I call him, the name is slipping me now. He went to the Patriots, the Eagles ex-cornerback. Ronald Darby and the Green Goblin, they were a great duo.
Mills.
Jalen Mills. They were a great duo when we won the Super Bowl. But if you look at our line, we had a great line. So it goes hand in hand. And I think J.C. Jackson, cornerbacks always get repaid. And you name me one cornerback besides Slay that has gone to another team and has performed better. I mean, there isn't. Slay was the odd man. It really is. You look at all of them. You look at Byron Jones when the Cowboys had him and he went to the Dolphins. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not like off the charts amazing. You start going down the list. There's not a ton of cornerbacks that leave their original teams and just go, and he's still pretty young, so we never know. He could be really good. I hope I'm wrong. If the Eagles get him, I hope he's the best quarterback ever. But
I think the Patriots will. They've always been known to pay up their corners. In the past.
Stephen
and
Gilmore.
He's young. Like if they let him go, like you're 26, they're fools.
They've got to find their identity, and their defense is still one of their strengths. And I think they stick with.
He allowed like a 87 passer rating when thrown to, which is really good.
You know what you have in him. He fits your system, so why not?
I mean, I think they keep him again. If he were to go somewhere, I'm trying to think here. I mean, I don't know much about this, but we could look up top cap. I'm just looking at like the top cap teams because again, whoever's signing him is going to have to have a lot of money. I mean, we're looking probably at 4 years, 100 million.
Yeah, maybe even 100 million. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. You could be right.
Because, I mean, his production the last 2-3 years have been absolutely insane.
But dear Lord, whoever forks that money out, I hope he pans out.
I mean, you could do maybe Seattle he goes to. Maybe. I mean, there's big ones for Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, Vikings. They're big ones for Stephon Gilmore as well. Everyone wants to go to a contender, but I don't know. Like, maybe the Bengals try to get him. That's a guy that maybe
that's the beauty of this. Everyone wants to go to a contender. The Bengals need a guy. The Bengals are a contender, but players are using that now as sort of an excuse, and it's making teams better. And all of a sudden, teams can't get away with just throwing $100 million at a player and say, "Come to our crappy team and play." Players are like, "Hold on a second. The league is getting shorter. Their season is expanding, and our years are getting shorter in the amount that we can play with before our body just falls apart." And so, I no longer care about making $100 million for 10 years. I want to win a Super Bowl. Because these guys are making so much money that it's not like they need it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like they could live on $1 million a year easy. Anyone could. But a lot of these players, they're now going, "I'd love us ring to go with that." So this whole like ring chasing thing is a legit thing. And I think it's really good because I think it's forcing teams to stop being like the Dolphins, the Jets. "Oh yeah, we're crap every year, and we're just going to throw $100 million every year at players that never work." And it's like, hold on a second, players are going to start going.
Well, and the thing, this is why I don't consider the Dolphins for a first thing. They're in the same division as the Patriots, but they also have Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard wants to leave the Dolphins. What is different about J.C. Jackson? So hell no to the Dolphins. But I'm thinking about the Bengals. Eli Apple was a major liability to them last year, especially he got freaking exposed. I think they make a run at J.C. Jackson. That defense, I think they have enough. Technically, they have enough cap space, and they have the draft capital to fix their O-line and to get some good defensive. Right.
Well, they could literally fix the O-line and sign 2 top free agents, Mike Hilton and. Oh my gosh, Mike Hilton and J.C. Jackson as a defensive back pairing because Hilton plays safety, right?
I think it's nickelback. I think it's nickel.
Yeah. So, but either way, defensive backfield, it makes you pretty tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. So anyways, let's move on. We've been on that topic for a little while, but that was pretty fun. So this is the next one. This kind of tied into the Devante Adams thing. And again, he went on the Pat McAfee show and said, you know, Aaron, like, I'm not going to make my decision yet. I watched the first few minutes of this Pat McAfee interview. Did he go on? Did you see that interview with Pat McAfee?
I saw like a 15-second snippet. This week was busy when he said it. I wasn't able to watch it, even though it was interesting from what I heard.
Anyways, what I'm making out of this is from all the signs on Twitter that he has written and stuff like that. What I am making out of this, he is taking a hard consideration between retirement and staying with the Packers. I don't think he gets traded. I really don't. I think he's like, I've won 2 MVPs. At this point, what is the realism that that I will that I am going to win a Super Bowl? I mean, especially with staying with the Packers, no. But I think he's the type of guy that really doesn't care about Super Bowls. And maybe he wants another one, but I mean, he's gotten an MVP, everything else. He's achieved his personal accolades. So I think he was in that interview. I took away from it, he's fighting retirement. He's wanting to really see where if he's considering retirement. And now that Tom Brady is retired, maybe that affects his decision. Sure. So I think, yeah, I mean, what do you think on this? Are there many realistic destinations for him? I don't know. Denver might be realistic, maybe. Yeah. So what do you think on that?
He publicly came out right after he lost, and he said, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. Everyone knows that. He's too old to be part of a rebuild. He's 38. He's got maybe 2 years left. Even though he's playing at a very high level, I don't think he wants to play to 45. And this really goes back to what I'm going to say. It ties into what I'm going to say. He loves to flirt with ideas. And so when he was doing Jeopardy in the summer of last year, he was like, yeah, I could just become a Jeopardy host, retire today, and just become a full-on Jeopardy host. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, is Aaron retiring? Aaron loves to be that villain, but also the center of attention. He likes to be spun in things, in different narratives and different scenarios. What I believe is going to happen is he's going to take a hard look. If he meets with the Packers, and he's going to, and he says, what can you guys do to get better? Because they're going to have to come up with a game plan.
Right.
Because he's not going to go back there. Well, we're losing all these players, but Aaron, we'd love to have you back. That's a rebuild. And
right.
Now, if they ship Jordan Love and they say, you know what, we are literally going to mortgage the next 2 years, the next 5 or 8 years, to make the next 2 years the best years you've ever had. And it's possible they can do it. You can do it with the cap space. It takes work, but they can mortgage picks. They can mortgage all this stuff. I understand they're in cap hell, but there's ways of getting out of it. This is why these guys are paid multi-millions. They're some of the wealthiest paid people because they know how to move money around. There are ways to do that. They can restructure Aaron Jones's contract because if they meet with everyone and they say, look, we've got an opportunity. Rodgers is coming back. What can we do? The only other realistic trade scenario, or I don't even know, would be the Broncos, because the Broncos are literally a competent quarterback away from being an amazing team. They've got a great receiving and offensive line core. I've talked about that. Their defensive line is pretty good. Their cornerbacks, they've got a guy, Patrick Surtain, who's holding down the fort. Then they've got the safety, who the name is slipping me tonight. I'm not good with names. The safety is really, really good. And really, all they have to do is get an offensive line or two in the draft, and they're pretty good. So if I'm going anywhere, it's the Broncos. Unless somehow, for some reason, he goes to Philly, which I don't think he has any interest in going to Philly. I think he stays in Wisconsin. But how? I have no clue. Don't ask me now, because they're going to have to cut, restructure, and do stuff to bring him back. And he's not coming back if they say we're losing like 5 players this year. So
I was looking up I was looking this up. The Packers. I was looking up because I was looking up while I was looking at my phone while you were talking. I was looking up and this guy brought it up. Swan Song, thank you. I was looking up who did the Packers restructure this year? Because I remembered they had restructured somebody like today or yesterday, and that's David Bakhtiari. They freed up $11.5 million by restructuring it. So that definitely will
And then
help.
they free up another $15 million if they cut Ladarius Smith, which I think they will.
Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
well,
it's not hard. It can be done. People look at that and go, "Oh my gosh, Packers are in cap hell." Okay, pump the brakes, guys. It's not as bad as it looks. But he loves to flirt with the idea that he's retiring, and I think he's genuinely considering it. Because the thing is the difference between him and Brady. And I was telling someone earlier this year, I said, "Look, Brady, his life is football, and that's great, and that's why he's the GOAT, because he literally lives and breathes football." Aaron Rodgers loves life outside of football. He loves golfing. He loves he loves to be in about every relationship for about 2 years and then break up. He loves loves a
yes.
lot of things, but he loves life outside of football. And so the reason why retiring is even being considered is because he doesn't find his identity in winning another Super Bowl. Now, will he go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks? Yes.
Yeah.
But right now his career will be bloodstained with the fact that it will be stained with the fact that he hasn't won a Super Bowl after being to a championship 2 years in a row prior to this
Yeah.
year and not doing anything. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. I think he's walking away and he's leaving stuff behind, but I don't think he has a problem with that. I think the only way he comes back is if he seriously believes the team he goes to or the Packers have a chance at making it. Now, look, the truth is they were the best team all year long. I liked my chances for anybody to come to Green Bay. They laid a
Yeah.
dang egg.
Yeah.
They laid an absolute egg. Now, I
Yeah.
strongly believe, Colin Cowherd talked about this. I think Matt LaFleur is a huge liability for them. I think LaFleur is a good coach, but Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
is the reason why they were really good as well. And so to pin all the blame on Aaron Rodgers for the reason why they lost in the playoffs the last couple of years, I think
Yeah.
it's foolishness.
Yeah.
This past year, I don't blame it on Aaron Rodgers. They never tried to run the ball. They didn't start. I mean, it was just a terrible ground play. I'm glad for your team. 49ers progressed. The truth is, the 49ers gave the Packers
Yeah.
every chance to run away with this game. So
Yeah.
so
True.
so with that being said, I really what it boils down to is I don't think Rodgers is retiring, but I think he's heavily flirting with the idea of, yeah, I could retire because he doesn't need to come back.
Yeah.
He's
Right. He's
won a
made all
Super
the
Bowl.
money.
He's made the money. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got the MVPs. The only thing that's going to bolster his legacy is winning another Super Bowl. And if he doesn't see that's possible, why would you go out and do it?
Right, and
I
it's
get
not
it.
guaranteed with any team. The
It's
top
never
teams, the
guaranteed.
Broncos, they have Nathaniel Hackett. I think that's obviously really real.
Yeah, they did. Of course, there's a big reason why Hackett was signed.
But
Let's put it
maybe
that way.
potentially, the Colts don't have any picks because they waste. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. Swan Song has something here. The question everyone wants to know: what is Galil Bunch?
Yeah, Giselle's Bunchins.
Oh,
It's Tom Brady's
oh,
wife.
oh, oh, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
according to celebrity net worth, but yeah, it's incredible. She's double what Tom Brady is worth.
I know.
And
Yeah.
and and that's why I said it's not about the money for Brady. He literally is obsessed with winning. The dude, and I also believe their relationship is very
Yeah.
I think their relationship is very professional. I'm not saying Giselle doesn't love Tom. I think she does. But Giselle lives a very separate life. They both have great careers. And she wants to live a $50-60 million a year lifestyle. I mean, that's just the reality of what she wears expensive stuff. She goes places, and so does he. And the thing is but he loves football to where it was all about legacy for him. And I think with Rodgers, it's like, yeah, I'm a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he doesn't care about it as much.
As much. I'm not saying legacy is a
yeah.
bad thing. I'm not saying he disregards legacy, but his football legacy is not what he doesn't care about his football legacy, in my opinion, like Tom Brady does.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. He's going to retire as one of the greatest quarterbacks. He's a top 10 quarterback of all time. Some people would arguably throw him in the top 7 or top 5.
So my question to you, when do you think he makes this decision? I
2
think it's
weeks
going
from
to be
now. It's going to be within 2 weeks. I don't think he
okay.
waits until free agency. I think, honestly, we could. But, he could drag it out all the way to the draft. But what's the point there? I think he likes the Packers have not done him dirty. They haven't. They've been really, really gracious. Now, I know he feels like they have with the Jordan Love pick. But I think they quickly regretted that. And I think they really did make ends meet last year when they really fully committed to him.
Yeah.
And he said to him, but I said, the reason why I respect Aaron a lot, regardless of what the media wants to say or anything, when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz fell apart. And I love Wentz, but mentally he fell apart. When Jordan Love was drafted actually the same year, Aaron Rodgers went and had an MVP season. There's a difference in those two players. One said, okay, you're going to bring me adversity, but I'm going to do something different with it. The other, in Carson Wentz said, I'm falling apart here. And
Yeah.
Rodgers, the reason why I respect him a lot is because he could have just turned over and said, "Yep," but he's like, "No, I'm gonna have the best season. I'm gonna make I'm gonna make the Packers pay for an idiot mistake, where they completely wasted a first round pick on a quarterback they didn't need to get. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. He had a great season. He has two of his greatest seasons the last 2 years. So now the cards are in his hand. What does he want to do? I don't know. I think he loves to flirt with the idea, like I've said, and it is an interesting offseason. We will see.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot going down with all the good free agents, the draft, everything else. So let's get to the next one. Do you have anybody that let's talk about a little bit about the draft. Do you have anybody that you would like the Eagles to draft with their first pick?
I do. Well, with the first
yeah.
pick, okay, because I've got 3 players that I'd love for us to get. It's absolutely not going to happen. We have a massive hole. I've talked about this so many times, but we've had a massive hole at linebacker. We've never drafted a linebacker in the last, I don't know, was it 20 years? I don't know. I don't think it's been under Howie Roseman we've drafted a linebacker. Nakobe Dean from Georgia, I would love to get him. We really need a linebacker because we've got TJ Edwards is a good linebacker, and so is Alex Singleton. And then we've got TJ Edwards, Alex Singleton, and Davion Taylor, but none of them are the guys that are going to come in and going to make a resounding footprint on a game. And I think Nakobe Dean does that. He played really well for Georgia. I think he's a great linebacker. I'd love to get him. Another guy I think will be available, but I don't know if we'll get him or not. We are losing a defensive end this year, Derek Burnett. We're not re-signing him. He was a first-round pick, sort of a disappointment. Didn't really ever live up to the hype. He broke Reggie White's single-sack season record at Tennessee, but never lived up to the hype. I want to get David Ajabo from Michigan. I think he's a great guy. I think he could.
Yeah, that's a dude. But I love that dude.
Oh, he's great.
Michigan made the run this year. That was so fun to watch.
I think he's better than Hutchinson.
Athletically, maybe not as much power. He's more of a technique guy.
I mean, Hutchinson was embarrassed by Georgia.
Yeah, both of them. I don't know. That whole defense was embarrassed by Georgia.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is Hutchinson was supposed to be the type of guy that puts a print on a great game, and he didn't do it. So I know no one else did, but no one expected David Ajabo to beat Aiden Hutchinson. So I think what the biggest thing is with Ajabo is we've got Josh Sweat. He's a mainstay defensive end. He had a great season, went to the Pro Bowl. Brandon Graham, it's probably his last year, but he's coming back this year. What a great way to have a guy like Ajabo play 50-60% of the snaps and then become a full-time defensive end. So he doesn't have to come in and be a starter. He just has to be a guy who can come in and make a real impact. I think it's a great opportunity. And the last one for me, but it's all defense, because I want us to invest in anything offensively. I wouldn't mind getting a receiver in the first round.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, but not. I'd like to go in free agency. I really want to go in free agency.
That's true.
I want to get a veteran guy to come along because to me, Quez Watkins and Devontae Smith are great. We just need we need a veteran presence. So if we go out and get a receiver in the first round, we need to still get a veteran receiver. Whether that's a guy that's cheap, either way, we got to have a veteran. Ahmad Gardner-Johnson is the corner from Cincy. I don't know how good he is. I'd much rather get this.
He's a top 3 corner. I mean, they were known for their corners. Sorry,
no, you're good. I mean, Cincinnati was a good team. It's like, okay, did he play the best receivers? That's why I think what's the LSU line safety? I'm looking up
here. I'll get it.
I have it pulled up here on my list of guys that I wanted us to get. Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley was
I've heard of him.
For LSU. And I think he could play different positions, but I don't think he's going to make it out of the top 10. So that's why I say Gardner Johnson, because I don't think that Stingley's going to make it out of the top 10. If he
Stingley's top. Yeah, he's
top 5 maybe.
Third,
he's a great guy.
Well, and another guy. You guys need a guard, right? I could potentially.
We do.
Tyler Lindenbaum from Iowa. He's
the center.
But he could go to guard.
But it would be a great. I didn't even touch on that. I should have. I have loved that guy.
What pick is your guys' first pick?
15, 16, and 19. Or we could easily get him. And Howie Roseman loves to go in the trenches. So I think the two most likely are David Ajabo and this Lindenbaum, because he likes to vest defensive lineman or offensive lineman. I think there's a very big chance we could get both. I mean, there's a real chance. We have 15 and 16. We could get Ajabo and Lindenbaum.
Or you could get Nakobe Dean. He's around 16. You could literally get Dean and then another dude.
And Lindenbaum. We could literally get – it's really scary how good our team could be if we actually draft properly. But we're not getting deep.
Jamison Williams, Alabama. You could
We're
get
not
him
getting
for
deep,
wide
sadly.
receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number
I
3.
love
Yeah.
Jamison Williams. I love Jason. There's so many options, but the bottom line is we hate drafting linebacker, and it's the biggest need on the team. So I'm going to be curious if we do it. I mean, dude, we hated drafting linebacker so much we traded to get Devontae Smith and skip down on Micah Parsons. Now, I'm glad with it, and I really love Smith.
Right.
But we don't like drafting linebackers.
Hey, Daxton Hill probably going too high for the 49ers. I mean, he's, I think, a top 5 safety in this next draft. But, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, Michigan, I mean, they had such a Vincent Gray. I'm working on an interview with him right now, but I don't think I'm going to get it. But hold on. Oh, okay. I just muted myself. Okay. Vincent Gray. You had Vincent Gray. You had, I mean, there were so many good people in that secondary for
stacked draft
for Michigan. But I'll quickly go for something here. It really, the thing is the combine will determine everything. And I have a guy
it shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah, Marcus Jones, I think his name is, from Houston. I was talking about it today with with Grant Cohn on his show. Hold on, what's his name? Yeah, Marcus Jones from Houston. He's a cornerback, 5'8", and he's around. Right now he's around a mid 3rd rounder, which we have tons of comp 3rd round picks that. But if he does have a good combine, I could see him sliding up to the 2nd round. And somebody mentioned it. I was doing a show with this other guy yesterday. Somebody mentioned it and was basically like, this guy's really good. So I look him up, and I spent a lot of last night doing film with him, and he's like 5'8", fits perfectly what the 49ers want to do, man-to-man, 5 interceptions last year. That's great. But if he does drop to the 3rd round, I could potentially see the 49ers getting like a 2nd round safety in the 2nd round. They need a safety.
The Eagles could get got him in the 3rd round. So they're going to do their due diligence. The Eagles, just one guy position they do not like drafting is the linebacker position. But that's the thing, is it's crazy that we could literally come out of the 1st round and have a top linebacker, a top defensive end, a top lineman, and a top corner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. But guess what? You know who blew it a couple of years ago? The Vikings.
Yeah. And
Sheldon Richardson, Cordarrelle Patterson, and I can't even remember the guy. Sheldon Richardson sort of turned out to be Cordarrelle Patterson, crazy enough, is having a resurgence of a career. And then I can't even remember the other guy that they drafted. So you can easily botch it. And we shouldn't draft what we need. We should draft best player available, because the truth is the Eagles still have holes all over the roster. And I'm not saying we can't be a good team, because we obviously made the playoffs. But yeah.
I mean, and again, 49ers need a safety. Kirby Joseph, Illinois. Look him up, guys. He's really good too as well. But again, the Eagles, like, they're it's so flexible, because you could potentially get an offensive lineman, an offensive lineman, a linebacker, and a receiver all in one draft. Yep. My thing is, make receiver a priority. If you're the Eagles, you make that a priority. Because there was a comment up here by Swang Song. It's quite a while ago, but he basically said, let me see, I'm trying to think here. I'm scrolling up. It's the Eagles one. If Eagles don't get a QB, they can be hella. If they do get a real QB, Jalen Hurts is a good QB. They just need like weapons for Jalen Hurts.
I've been an Eagles fan too long. People have this pipe dream. I love Wilson. I also seen what Wilson could do, but I also see what he can't do. And the truth is, they had a good team for a while there, and for whatever reason, whether it was coaching, whether it was Wilson. I think Wilson makes you a good team. Trust me. I would rather Wilson over Rodgers. I'd rather Watson, if he gets all this legal stuff cleared, over Wilson. But I think Jalen Hurts, give him an opportunity. This is what's crazy. We have an opportunity with the cap space and with our picks to go all in this year. Jalen Hurts doesn't give you – if Jalen Hurts doesn't give you what you want, mortgage next year. Mortgage 2023 and 2024 for draft picks to get a quarterback that you want. But why mortgage it now when the draft class is really bad and Russell Wilson is no guarantee of leaving, and neither is Aaron Rodgers? I don't understand why we're even considering it. To me, surround Hurts with all these picks and go from there. So,
speaking of picks, I mean, 49ers, they might lose that this one other guy to the general manager job at Steelers. I don't think so anymore. But like they have so many comp picks this year in the 3rd round. Like they don't have a 1st round pick, but they have like 13 picks from then on. Like it's crazy how many picks we have.
crazy.
And we could just use it to trade up. Like I'm excited because we have so many later round picks or 3rd round picks. We have a 2nd round pick. It's really exciting. And again, this guy from Houston, I'm in love with him now. I'm 5'8", but super fast, and he returned kicks, and he's played both offense and defense in college. Super fast. Like I think he runs a 4.4. So he's an interesting
That's
safety.
insane. I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
But another guy, like you guys could even get like with receivers, if you do go like Garrett Wilson from Ohio State,
Jahad Dotson from Penn State, is that?
Yeah, yep, that's his name. And then Chris Olave. So
because 19th pick, there's a lot of guys with the 19th pick. I think if we're going to get a receiver, it's not going to be our 15th and 16th. It's going to be, probably our 19th pick. But we'll see. You never know. We drafted pretty well last year. We had a really good draft in 2018, which is crazy. It seems like it's 4 years ago. It's like, holy crap. 2018 was a great draft. We had Maddox, Goddard, Malata. Those 3 guys, Josh Sweat, those 4 guys are starters that we've all locked up. So we can definitely do it. People give Howie Roseman a lot of hate, but definitely have a good opportunity to be a good team. So,
well, I mean, again, right before we move on, the Eagles can't go wrong with this because they really they'll at least hit.
They'll be the laughing stock.
Like
they'll be laughing stock in the NFL. Oh no, they could go wrong.
I
hope they don't.
All 3 picks, I would be surprised.
No, I would be surprised too, but I'm not. If I don't know, Colin Cowherd's like trade 4 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. You're out to lunch if you do that. I'm sorry, I love Wilson, but
if you're going to trade for Wilson, don't trade all your first-round picks.
Well, but this is the issue. This is the issue with Wilson. This is the issue with Wilson. And one of these Eagles pages, he's like adamant. He hates Hurts, and so he really wants Wilson. And he's like, you don't see what the Rams did. You don't see what the Rams did with Stafford. And I keep saying, guys, the Rams were a good team without Stafford. Like, the Eagles are a good team, but they've got holes. The Rams didn't. And so really what I boils down to, if the Seahawks came to me and said, we want your 15th pick, we want Fletcher Cox, we want Andre Dillard, and we want next year's first-round pick, I would do it. But you cannot mortgage more than 2 first-round picks. We've got players that are older or that we can get rid of. They need O-line help, and they need good defensive line. So Fletcher Cox and Andre Dillard are both guys that we could ship. And I would be sad because I love Cox. But you cannot mortgage 3 first-round picks in hopes that you'll be the next Rams. Because guess what? It doesn't always work out like that. So Matthew Stafford was a rare occurrence. Even going back to Peyton Manning days, the Broncos were a good team when they got Peyton Manning. We're not a good team. We have holes. We need to address those. And I could be wrong, and I'll be willing to be wrong because guess what? I'd be wrong and all throughout the playoffs. But
yeah. So this is an interesting one, and I think a lot of people hold on. Who will be the next Bengals next year? The Bengals were an emerging team. We didn't even expect them to go to the playoffs.
Yep.
Who is that next breakout team this year? Yeah, who is the next breakout team this year that you could see really breaking out? Who's the next Bengals, basically?
So I have a hard time. I don't have a ton to say on this. One of the biggest things that I would say is we didn't expect the Bengals because of the division they're in. So I'm going to give you 2 teams that I think could be the next Bengals. But I'm going to preface this by saying their divisions are not the Bengals divisions.
Right.
It's the Commanders, and I hate to say this because I'm an Eagles fan, but it's the Commanders and it's the Vikings.
Okay.
And the reason why I say it's the Commanders is they're a quarterback away. They are legit a quarterback away from being a competing team. That defense is really good. They've got a great running back. They got a good O-line, and they got a great tight end. This is an upcoming tight end. And they've got also a great receiver. So they are offensively and defensively, they're pretty good. And Rivera is a good coach. Yeah. They need a quarterback. Heineke's not a good quarterback. Who's Ryan Fitzpatrick? That was the worst experiments ever. So yes, I think they're one team. I didn't have a ton to say about them, but guess what? They're in a terrible division, and they could literally be a 9-win team and go to the playoffs. So when you say next Bengals, I would say Super Bowl. I don't know if that's a little extreme, but I could see them doing really well. Vikings are another one. I'm crazy to say this, but the Vikings, it just blows my mind. They have such a good team, and why can't they do well? And I do believe part of it was a coach. And I know this is going to be the next question, but I do think Kevin O'Connell could really turn this around. They've got a great team. Thielen and Jefferson with Dalvin Cook. I mean, good Lord. I would dream of having that trio of guys. And the truth is, Kirk Cousins, he may not be Joe Burrow, but he's going to put up all those stats. And I think Kirk Cousins is very similar to Dak Prescott. In fact, I think Kirk Cousins may be bold prediction better than Dak Prescott. They put up a bunch of stats, but they can't get it done. The thing is their defense is also really bad. If the Vikings invest in defense this year in both the cap and in both free agency and the draft, I could see the Vikings being a breakout team. But guess what? They're also not that great of a division because the Lions aren't good, the Bears aren't good, and if Aaron Rodgers leaves, the Packers are going to be crap. So the two teams I chose are two teams that are not in the Bengals division because they had the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens. Those were all guys that people thought could compete for the playoffs. So that's all I really had to say for that one because I went through a list of teams and I'm like, none of these guys are really in the Bengals quality division. The Bengals did something that I've not seen done in a long time. But guess what? They didn't win the Super Bowl.
Bengals, like if you look at all the talent that they brought in last year,
did really well.
Dude, that team was stacked. I'm sorry, no team. Now, I think a sleeper team, hear me out, the Lions, if they draft well enough, they have the coach in place. I think he's a good coach. If they draft well enough, maybe. I think they need another good receiver, except from the Amon St. Brown guy. They need another receiver. Again, I mean, the Bengals last year, there's a difference. You know, the Bengals had Jamar Chase. The Bengals had Joe Burrow coming back. The Bengals were absolutely
But I don't think Jared Goff is as bad as people say. So I think they've got a decent look. They've got St. Brown. And I look at this, the way I look at it is this. They got a good tight end. They got a good running back. They got a good receiver.
Yeah.
Their O-line is Their defense needs some work. But someone was saying, we're 2 to 3 years off. As a Lions fan, he was saying that. I was reading through some comments.
Yeah.
I don't think they're 2 to 3 years off. I really like the way Dan Campbell's approach is being. I just don't know. The question is Goff going to become their kryptonite? Right now, no one can really blame it on Goff because the whole team as a whole is not great. But the way they were winning down the stretch and just or shall I say the way they were competing down the stretch, I thought was pretty impressive. And I don't think you're right, but I can see why they could be. Yeah.
And an interesting team, the thing is like an interesting team as well as the Bears. Like maybe a change of scenery. Maybe the reason why they brought in the Eberflus guy was to maybe change of scenery for Justin Fields. That's
massively against that.
I think it could be. I think like another breakout team could come from a first-year coach. You're talking about the Dolphins, a lot of cap.
Sirianni did it with nothing. I mean, he did it with a dumpster fire of a team. I mean, the Eagles have good players on their team, but Sirianni came in. It can be done. Eberflus, we'll see. Who's their offensive coordinator? I don't even know, but
I don't know. I mean, the thing is the Dolphins have something good in place as well. You know, they have if they lose Xavier Howard, they're gonna have to maybe find a way to replace them with another good cornerback. But they have a lot of cap. You know, first-year head coach, but they have a quarterback that maybe could be good. He's decent. So that could be a team as well. They're going to have to fix their O-line, but their team with a lot of cap this year that really, and draft picks, Dolphins are another team. So, yep. So moving on to the next one. This is our last topic of the day. Which first-year head coaches or which first-year coaches will succeed this year? I had a list of all the coaches that got hired. Brian Daboll, Giants, Matt Eberflus, Chicago, Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings, Nathaniel Hackett, Broncos, Doug Peterson, Jaguars, Josh McDaniels, Raiders. And I'm going to say with this, Josh McDaniels could be an intriguing one. You have Derek Carr. They need to get more receivers on that team. Again, we don't want to think because Josh McDaniels was a head coach with the Broncos. I think it was in 2009 and really failed. It was a disaster, but he's out there. He has a chip on his shoulder. That could be a sleeper team. That's a team that did well with an interim head coach last year. So,
I was sad to see Bisaccia not get that. I think he deserved it, but you're right. I'll tell you what, you said it's a sleeper, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's the only team that he walks into the building and has a quarterback that he can trust.
Yeah.
I love Trevor Lawrence. I love Trevor Lawrence, and he's supposed to be like the best prospect coming out of college since Andrew Luck. But Derek Carr is a special guy. And I'm not a massive Carr fan. I think he has a lot of things he can improve on. But the one thing is he's a great leader, especially we saw it really shine through when all this stuff happened last year. One of the things that I'll say is Kevin O'Connell does have Kirk Cousins. So the way I would rank it, if we were finishing today, would be Kevin O'Connell. And I'm saying this because of the division, because I think Daniels will do well, but he's also in a division with the Chargers and the Chiefs. So personally, I think it's going to be O'Connell, Daniels, and then I think it's going to be Doug Peterson. I don't think we're going to see the Jaguars make the playoffs, but I think we're going to see a big improvement because Doug Peterson will instill a locker room relationship that is lacking in that team. And he's going to be a father to the people who need it, but he's also going to be the stern way of wisdom because that's what he did with the Eagles. And he turned around a team that was lost with the Eagles. And within 2 years, they made the Super Bowl and won it. It was an amazing turnaround, but I think he will be a good coach. Nathaniel Hackett is an intriguing candidate, but he's only good if they get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then Dayball, I like Dayball, but you know what?
I think that's another question. Who will get fired first? I think it's Dayball probably.
I have some choice words. Dayball refused the Eagles. This is really the funniest part. He refused the Eagles position last year because they didn't have a quarterback he liked.
Yeah.
He turns around and he takes the Giants job this year. So personally, I would never wish for anyone to fail, but I hope that Dayball's stint in Giants is short-lived because personally, I think he is not the smartest for picking
Daniel
the Giants over
Jones.
the
Like what?
Yeah,
the
Daniel
heck?
Jones over Jalen Hurts. I mean, I know Jones has some better capabilities, like he's got a great arm, but like, I'm sorry, if I look at the Eagles and the Giants team on paper and I compare them, I'm one is very clearly better than the other, even though the Eagles almost lost and did lose to the Giants one time this year. Like, I'm sorry. So I think you're right. I think the most definite one is Derek Carr's situation with the new coaching hire. I think will be good. O'Connell's intriguing because the Vikings have had a defensive coach for the last 7 years, and he's going to, I think, help Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is also sort of old, so is he going to be really able to? Then again, you saw what happened with Nathaniel Hackett. Aaron Rodgers had 2 of his best years under Hackett as O-coordinator. So I could see Nathaniel Hackett, but he doesn't really have a quarterback that I really like. So it's a very interesting one. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one that I really haven't paid attention to was the Kevin O'Connell, but now that you bring it up, maybe. I mean, he's willing to work with Kirk Cousins. The only thing is their cap, they're not going to be able to do that much. Mike McDaniels is another one. No, that's Jock McDaniels. Mike McDaniels. Yeah, Mike McDaniels is another one. I mean, Dolphins, we'll really see with all of these coaches, same with Ryan Daboll. Mike McDaniels was another one. Why isn't he is he just the product of Kyle Shanahan's system? But I think, everyone wants a piece of that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree.
I think
it's the same thing. I think this is why Brian Daboll will fail. First thing, I think the job he did last year with Josh Allen didn't just establish a run game. They never had a run game. And they just never.
And also, he had Josh Allen as quarterback.
I don't know. I never really liked Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, that's his name. But I get it mixed up between Ryan and Brian. So Brian Daboll. But it's interesting what will happen. We'll have to see there because he definitely went to a weird. Giants are not a good team to go to.
No, and we could really pick apart each coaching hire, and I could do it. What I'll say is this: Kevin O'Connell. They made the Super Bowl. He's the recipient of becoming a head coach because of it, essentially.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell, 2 year with Jared Goff's offense last year, the Rams just looked lost. So are we going to see that Kevin O'Connell? I don't know. Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offense.
Yeah.
Now, what he did with Mac Jones, I could see. I think that's what restored my faith. But Derek Carr doesn't need someone to come and teach him.
Right.
And that's the same thing with Kevin O'Connell. Like Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins, you sort of got what you got. They may be able to be molded, but I don't think you can change them. Mike McDaniels doesn't have a quarterback, so it's sort of tough. Mike Daniels with Tua. He's got a quarterback, but
Mike McDaniels, that's his name.
McDaniels. So And then you go to Doug, and it's like, okay, Doug has a quarterback, but no one's really expecting. That's why I think Doug could be sort of a sleeper, because I don't think anyone has any expectations. I think he's a great quarterback hire, but I think literally someone said if Doug Peterson wins 3 wins, he's like 5th all time in their win list as a coach. That's how bad the Jaguars have been.
Oh, man, yeah.
And then, of course, Nathaniel Hackett doesn't really have a quarterback. So I think that's really where it gets interesting. We'll see. It's fun stuff.
And I mean, the Broncos, they all want Aaron Rodgers. If they get Aaron Rodgers, it's definitely going to be Nathaniel Hackett. That's a big one. I mean, you're suddenly looking at the Broncos a whole different way. But then again, like going back to the Aaron Rodgers thing, like there's been signs the last few weeks where he's really not going to go to the Broncos. I really don't think so.
I think that's a pipe dream. I think that's a pipe dream, but we'll see. I mean, it really boils down to a couple of things.
It's either retirement or the Packers. Yeah.
Yeah. It boils down to a couple of things. What teams are going to draft well, because we can have this conversation with each other 2 months from now, and things could have changed.
Yeah.
But it's all about organizationally. Do organizations set their teams up, their coaches up to succeed, or do they set them up to fail? Some organizations think that bringing in a new head coach changes everything, and then it ends there, right? It stops there. They bring in a head coach.
Yeah.
They're like, deal with our mess that we've created for the last 4 years. Deal with it, and we're going to be a Super Bowl team. The good organizations take a coach and they say, okay, we're bringing a coach in. What's your vision? What do you want to instill? What can we do to help you do that? Those are the organizations that succeed. It's one of the reasons why the Eagles sort of did well for a little while, but then they fell apart.
Yeah.
But it's also a reason why the 49ers organization has done really well. They basically said, Kyle Shanahan, what do you want? And Kyle said, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this. There is a balance. Yeah. There is a fine balance on how much an organization should allow a coach to do, because good old Chip Kelly wanted to be the general manager. He wanted to be the offensive coordinator. He wanted to be the general manager. He wanted to be this. He wanted to be that.
Yeah.
There is some limits, but it's I will say this, and I'll be very clear with it. The teams the organizations that surround their coaches with reason are the ones that succeed, because a coach can't do everything. A coach can change the locker room. A coach can change the outlook. A coach can draft well. But if a coach doesn't have the general manager working with him to get him the necessary free agents, or a lot of times general managers have a say in who they draft, just wasting your time. So that's what I sort of have to say. I don't really know who's going to be the best quarterback coach. I think Peterson is going to be the intriguing one, because there's no expectations. And so I think that's why Peterson could end up doing well, because there isn't any expectations, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, interesting how this is all going to go down. I'm already missing football, and it's only been like a few weeks. It's crazy, but we have some stuff to look forward to. I think that's pretty much it. We did it. It was a little bit more than an hour, but thank you everyone for watching. Again, in a few weeks, I might land. There's going to be a big guest on in a few weeks. He is one of the biggest sports, like NFL, analysts on YouTube. So I'm going to try to get him on. So things to come for this show. And this has been my brother, Joseph Kamperman. Thank you for coming on, Joseph. I mean, really always fun talking football with you.
This has been good. It's an exciting year. There's a lot of uncertainty, particularly in the quarterback. I know we say this every year, but this will be one of the biggest quarterback uncertainty. This is one of the biggest years for that. The uncertainty at quarterback position. Just don't know. But of course, the NFL is loving it. It's just going to bring them more fans.
Yeah.
And the tiny little team of Green Bay, if they get rid of Aaron Rodgers, where's their identity? I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy opportunity. I'll tell you what, really quickly before we go. If Aaron Rodgers loses, Green Bay is going to scramble, because their identity has been 2 guys over the last 25 years. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You take Aaron Rodgers out of the fold, where's their identity?
Yeah.
Because they literally so seamlessly went from Favre to Aaron and then won a Super Bowl very quickly afterwards. We could see 5 years where the Packers are irrelevant. And you saw what happened with what it took for Milwaukee to become a relevant team, which how about them Sixers? Because holy crap, that was a great game today.
Oh,
Anyways,
yeah, they have with
yeah, that was a great
James
trade.
Harden. Yeah,
With that being said, you saw what it took Milwaukee to get back on the map, and that was simply getting like arguably one of the most polarizing players in sports.
yeah.
So in Giannis, who took a couple of years to get there, but I think it's the same thing with the Packers. If Aaron Rodgers leaves, like interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Very interesting. They're very interesting in the
It
sports
could
world.
affect
So.
the whole league. You could have another
We
power
could.
out of there, and you could see the
You could.
49ers running the NFC, baby.
There you
That's
go.
all our hopes. So, everyone, thank you for watching the Camp Report. This has been a lot of fun. We'll see you guys again soon, and that's been Joseph Kamperman, the two bros in a nutshell. We'll see you guys again later.
See you later.
Peace.